The clock of heaven has struck, and the voice of the Almighty has gone forth. It is done. The decree has been sealed in the courts of eternity, and no hand of man, no scheme of darkness can reverse it. Only 3 days remain, not a day more, not a day less. 3 days. The number of transformation, the number of crossing, the number that turns tombs into empty graves. This is not just time passing, this is destiny unfolding. What you see now is not the end, but the confirmation of what heaven has already finished. The waves are already in motion, the mountains already trembling, and the door of opportunity is swinging shut. Prepare, for in 3 days everything changes. The divine countdown from the beginning of time, the God of eternity has moved according to his appointed hours, his set times, his unshakable calendar. Before the foundations of the world were laid, before the sun first burned in the sky or the oceans roared in their basins, there was a divine schedule, a countdown set by the one who sees the end from the beginning. What you are living in now is not random. It is not chaos. It is a preordained moment written into the scroll of destiny before your first breath was drawn. When God says a thing will happen, it does not matter what nations plot, what rulers decree, or what storms rise, the time will come, exactly as he has spoken, and not a heartbeat later. This is why the prophets spoke of the appointed time and the fullness of time. They understood that heaven has its own clock, and that clock is never early, never late. And now the countdown has begun. Heaven's hourglass has been turned, and the final grains of sand are slipping through. You may not hear it with your ears, but in the spirit the ticking resounds like thunder. The decree has been issued, it is done. You have prayed for years, perhaps decades. You have fasted, wept, and stood in faith when nothing seemed to change. You wondered if God was silent, if your cries had been lost in the winds, but they were never lost. Every word, every tear, every groan of your heart was recorded before his throne. And now the moment appointed for their answer is here. There comes a point in the divine story when the author writes the final sentence for a chapter and turns the page, and no hand can stop him. That is where you stand now. The countdown is not simply toward a day, it is toward a shift, a crossing, a fulfillment. 3 days, heaven's prophetic number for transformation, is all that stands between where you are and where you are destined to be. Do you remember the walls of Jericho? Israel marched in silence for 6 days, but it was on the 7th day, after the 7th lap, at the exact appointed time, that the shout was released and the walls fell. Until that moment, nothing moved. The stones mocked their faith, the enemy jeered, but when the divine countdown reached 0, the impossible became inevitable. Do you recall Esther's fast? For 3 days the people humbled themselves, and on the appointed day she walked into the throne room, and the king extended the scepter. Life where there should have been death, favor where there should have been destruction. This is the power of heaven's timetable, and yet the countdown is not only about what God will do, it is also about what you will do in these final moments before the shift. The days before the Red Sea split were days of terror and testing Pharaoh's army behind, the waters before. But those were also the last days Israel would ever spend in slavery. The countdown is the bridge between captivity and freedom. But a bridge must be crossed. You cannot stand still when the clock is ticking. The countdown is a call to prepare to put your house in order, to release what God has told you to release, to take up what he has told you to take up, to step into obedience while the door is open. The tragedy of many is that they hear the countdown and do nothing, thinking time will wait. But time set by God will not wait. Noah built the ark, and the people laughed until the countdown ended and the rains came. The wise virgins filled their lamps, and the foolish ones delayed until the countdown ended and the door was shut. The divine countdown is not about panic, it is about readiness. It is not about fear, it is about alignment. It is the mercy of God to warn before he moves, to give a final call before the shift. Right now, heaven is aligning the pieces you cannot see. The enemy thinks he has control, but every move he makes is only setting up the fulfillment of God's plan. This is why you must not judge the story too early. Joseph was in the dungeon, but the countdown to the throne had already started. Jesus lay in the tomb, but the countdown to resurrection was already ticking. The enemy celebrates too soon because he does not understand heaven's calendar. What looks like stillness is actually divine acceleration. Even now, angels are on assignment, chains are breaking in the unseen, and doors are swinging open in the spirit. Some of those doors you have been pounding on for years in 3 days, they will open without your hand touching them because heaven will open them for you. But hear this, when the countdown ends, there will be no time to get ready. You must be ready. The moment the sea parts, you must step forward. The moment the trumpet sounds, you must shout. The moment the king calls your name, you must answer. These 3 days are not a pause, they are a preparation. And just as surely as the third day came for Jesus, just as surely as the morning came for the Israelites, just as surely as the seventh lap came for Jericho, your appointed moment will come right on time. The question is not whether God will do it. The question is whether you will be positioned to walk through it. Heaven's clock is moving, and the divine countdown is almost complete. You stand on the edge of something the world cannot understand, something hell cannot stop, something your own eyes will struggle to believe. But when God says it's done, it is done, and the clock is already striking the final hours. The seal has been broken. There are moments in the unfolding of history when heaven breaks a seal, and what has been hidden for ages is suddenly revealed, unleashed, set into motion. A seal is not just a mark, it is an order, a barrier, a restraint set in place by the authority of the king. As long as the seal is unbroken, what lies within remains inaccessible, untouchable, and unseen. But when the king decides that the appointed hour has come, he breaks the seal, and nothing in heaven or earth can hold back what is released. For years, maybe for generations, you have waited, prayed, and pressed against what felt like an unmovable door. You saw hints of what was coming, glimpses in visions, whispers in the night, but the full reality remained beyond reach. The seal was still intact. Heaven was keeping it hidden for an appointed time. But I tell you this, the appointed time has arrived, and the seal has been broken. Do you understand the weight of this? When a seal is broken in the spirit, events are set into motion that cannot be stopped by human resistance or demonic opposition. The floodgates open. Prophecies that have lain dormant begin to unfold before your eyes. Signs you once struggled to interpret suddenly make sense, for the mystery is no longer locked away. The book of Revelation speaks of seals being opened one by one, each releasing a new wave of God's plan, not chaos, but the sovereign orchestration of the Almighty. And just like those ancient visions, what is being loosed in your life right now is not random. It is ordered, it is precise. It is the unveiling of what has been written about you in heaven's scroll from the foundation of the world. For too long, you may have thought your prayers had been unanswered, but they were not unanswered, they were sealed, not denied, but preserved. God hides certain answers for a season, so they are not stolen, corrupted, or destroyed before their time. He knows the enemy watches, and he knows the weight of what you carry. He guards it with a seal until the exact moment when you are ready to receive it, when your character has been forged by the fire, and when the environment has been aligned for its safe arrival. You may feel you are standing in the same place as before, but look again, the spiritual landscape has shifted. What was closed is now open. The seal has been broken. This is why some of the warfare you've been facing has intensified. Hell does not panic over a locked scroll, but when the seal is broken, the enemy knows his time is short. That is why the winds have been fierce, the battles relentless, the pressure almost unbearable. The enemy has heard the sound of the seal cracking and knows what is coming will shift your position forever. And yet he cannot reseal what God has broken. In the days of Daniel, the prophet fasted and prayed for understanding, but the answer was delayed by spiritual opposition. Still, at the appointed time, the messenger arrived, the revelation was given, and the seal was lifted. In the same way, what you are about to step into was delayed, resisted, and fought over in the unseen realms, but the order has been given, and the seal is no longer holding it back. This is why sudden openings are about to happen for you. Doors that have been shut for decades will swing wide. Promises you thought were lost will reappear in front of you. Connections, resources, and opportunities that seemed impossible will come, not because you finally pushed hard enough, but because heaven has declared the seal is broken. And when heaven says it, no power can reverse it. The breaking of the seal is also the unveiling of truth. Lies that have kept you bound will be exposed. The mask will be ripped off false friends and hidden enemies. The schemes that were buried in the shadows will be dragged into the light. For when the seal is broken, nothing hidden can remain concealed. This may shock you, it may even hurt. But remember, exposure is part of deliverance. God will not allow you to step into your next season with the same chains that held you in the last. The seal has been broken not just to release blessing, but to release you. In ancient times, a royal seal also carried the king's signature, his undeniable authority. When a seal was broken in the presence of witnesses, it was the public confirmation that what was inside was now active, valid, and ready to be enacted. That is what heaven has done for you. Your miracle has been signed by the king's hand, and now it is active. The time of waiting has ended. The time of manifestation has begun. But understand this, when the seal is broken, you must be prepared to move. The Israelites left Egypt in the night. At the exact moment the seal of Pharaoh's oppression was broken. They did not have weeks to prepare, they moved when the word came. Likewise, you cannot hesitate when the opportunity opens. You cannot shrink back when the scroll of your destiny is unrolled. These moments are rare and irreversible. The seal will not be reapplied for your convenience. If you hesitate, the moment passes. That is why God has been calling you to readiness, to consecration, to spiritual alertness, so that when the breaking happens, you will step forward without delay. Even now, you can feel it in your spirit. Something has shifted. The air feels different. The atmosphere is heavy with expectancy. You may not see the full picture yet, but you know the old barriers have crumbled. That is the sound of the seal breaking. Do not waste time trying to explain it to everyone. Many will not understand until they see it with their own eyes. Your task is to walk through what has been opened. And know this, the breaking of the seal in your life is part of a greater move of God in the earth. You are not the only one. Across nations, seals are being broken. Prophetic words long hidden are being released. Movements long hindered are rising. What is happening in you is connected to what is happening in the kingdom at large. This is the hour of unveiling, the moment when what was long hidden is brought into the open, and nothing can stop it. The seal has been broken, and the world will soon see the evidence. The final 3 days, such a small span of time to the human mind. Yet in the divine story, 3 days has always marked the point of crossing, the moment when the impossible becomes inevitable. In the language of heaven, 3 days is the bridge between death and life, captivity and freedom, despair and victory. It is never an accident when God marks a window of 3 days. It is the prophetic number of transformation. In the days of Moses, when Israel stood trapped between the armies of Egypt and the impassable sea, God's word came with an appointed time. He told them to consecrate themselves, for in a set span of days he would do wonders among them. The Red Sea did not part on the first day, nor on the second, but on the appointed day. The waters split, and a nation walked through on dry ground. In the days of Joshua, the command was the same: prepare yourselves, for in 3 days you will cross the Jordan. Again, the miracle did not happen instantly. The people were told to ready themselves for what was coming. They camped, they waited, they listened, and they looked toward the promise. The third day was the day of movement, the day the priest stepped into the waters and the river stopped flowing. And then there is the greatest of all the 3 days from the cross to the resurrection. On the first day, the earth shook and the skies darkened. On the second, all seemed lost, the tomb sealed, hope buried. But on the third day, the stone was rolled away and death itself was overturned. Do you see the pattern? In the final 3 days before a shift, God often seems silent. The enemy often rages. The situation may even look worse than before. This is not the absence of God, it is the divine tension before the breakthrough. 3 days is the space where faith is tested, where the choice is made to either give up or press on, to either believe the word or believe the storm. In these final 3 days, everything in the natural may try to convince you nothing is changing. Pharaoh will seem stronger than ever, the river may be at flood stage, the stone may seem sealed tighter than before. But the countdown is real, and the decree has already gone forth. You are not waiting for God to decide, He has already decided. You are simply walking toward the moment when His decision is revealed in the natural. These 3 days are holy ground not because of what you see, but because of what is being prepared behind the veil. The unseen world is in motion. Angels are moving into position. Chains are snapping in places you cannot yet see. The opposition is shifting not because it wants to, but because it must. In the days of Esther, the Jewish people faced certain destruction. The decree had been signed, sealed, and delivered. But Esther called for a fast 3 days of humbling before the Lord. And on the third day she walked into the king's court. By law, she should have been struck down for approaching without being called. But instead, the scepter was extended and favor was poured out. The enemy's plan collapsed, and the very gallows built for destruction became the place of the enemy's own downfall. 3 days can turn a death sentence into a promotion, a grave into a garden, a battle into a victory march. But hear this, the final 3 days are not a time to be passive. They are a time to prepare, to position, to consecrate yourself for what is coming. The Israelites in Joshua's day did not spend those days in idleness. They sanctified themselves, they readied their hearts, they watched for the movement of the ark, the presence of God, because they knew when it moved. They must follow without hesitation. So it is now. These final 3 days are a call to remove what does not belong, to forgive what you have held onto, to release what you cannot carry into the next season. Do not bring Egypt into the promised land. Do not carry the ashes of yesterday into the fire of tomorrow. These 3 days are a cleansing before an outpouring, and understand this: the enemy will do everything to distract you in these last days before the shift. He knows if he can steal your focus, he can cause you to miss the moment. In the Garden of Gethsemane, on the night before the cross, Jesus asked his disciples to watch and pray, but they slept. Do not sleep in the final hours. Watch, pray, keep your spirit awake. The countdown is not a metaphor, it is a divine appointment. At the end of these 3 days, something will open, something will break, something will move that has refused to move for years. But it will not wait for your readiness, then your readiness must be now. This is why the Lord has been stirring you, convicting you, pressing you in recent days. He is getting you into alignment so that when the moment comes, you will step through without delay. Remember, when the Red Sea opened, Israel had to walk immediately. When the Jordan stopped, they had to cross without hesitation. When the stone rolled away, the disciples had to run to see what had been done. The miracles of God are never for the complacent, they are for the prepared. So let these 3 days be marked by faith, not fear. Worship more than you worry. Declare the promise more than you rehearse the problem. Look forward more than you look back. And when the enemy whispers, nothing is changing, remind him that the third day is coming and heaven has never missed a third day. When it arrives, it will not creep in quietly. It will come with the roar of a parted sea, the stillness of a stopped river, the explosion of a rolled away stone. These final 3 days are the hinge of your destiny. They are the line between what was and what will be. Stand firm, stay alert, and keep your eyes on the author of time, for when he says 3 days, you can set your life by it. And when the sun rises on that appointed morning, you will know what it means to step into a miracle you could never have orchestrated yourself. The countdown is almost over. The third day is almost here. And when it comes, nothing will ever be the same. The door is closing from the first page of Scripture to the last. There is a recurring truth. Every open door from heaven carries a set time, and every set time comes with a closing. God, in his mercy, opens doors for a season, but those doors do not remain open forever. They open by divine appointment, and they close by divine decree. And when the door begins to close, it is not a moment for hesitation, debate, or delay. It is the moment for decision. This is the hour we are in now. The hinges are moving. The edges are narrowing, the space is shrinking. The door is closing. In the days of Noah, the ark stood with its door wide open while the skies were clear and the ground was dry. The people could have entered at any time. They could have taken the warning seriously, could have stepped into the shelter of salvation, but they delayed. They mocked. They assumed there would always be more time. But then, one day, without a single drop of rain falling yet, the Lord himself shut the door, and when that divine hand closed it, no man could open it. The laughter outside turned to screams, the calm turned to chaos, but the season of entry was over. It did not matter how urgent their cries became, the door was sealed. The same was true in Egypt on the night of the Passover. The Israelites were told to place the blood on their doorposts and remain inside until morning. The destroyer was coming, and the door was the line between life and death. When the midnight hour struck, there was no time left to apply the blood, no moment left to prepare. The door was already in its final position. And Jesus himself spoke of a wedding feast in which the wise virgins entered with their lamps burning, but the foolish ones delayed, thinking they had more time. They arrived only to find the door shut, and the master saying, I do not know you. There is a sobering reality in these accounts. God's open doors are real, but so is his closing. We love the sound of open doors, but we often forget the urgency they carry. Every open door is an invitation to move, to obey, to cross a threshold. If we linger too long, we can miss the moment entirely. This is why heaven's warnings are sounding now. The door you see before you is not ordinary, it is appointed. And appointed doors do not remain open indefinitely. Even now, you can feel the urgency in your spirit. You can sense that what has been available will not be available much longer. This is not a threat, it is a mercy. God is telling you while there is still time to enter. He is stirring you to move before the hinge completes its final swing. You must not mistake his patience for endless delay. The closing of a door is not always judgment. Sometimes it is protection. There are seasons when God will close the door behind you to shield you from what is about to come. When Noah's family entered the ark, they did not yet hear the thunder, but God knew it was coming. He shut them in before the first drop fell. When God led Israel through the Red Sea, the waters closed behind them, not to punish them, but to cut off the army of Pharaoh forever. In the same way, the door closing in your life may be the very act that preserves you for the future, but for that to happen, you must be on the right side of it when it shuts. The tragedy is that many will be found standing outside, pounding on a door they could have walked through days earlier. They will remember the tug in their spirit, the conviction in their heart, the moments they knew they should have acted but they waited. They assumed the door would always be there. Yet there comes a moment in every divine timeline when God says, "It is finished," and the moment ends. This is why you must move now. If there is an obedience you have delayed, do it. If there is a step you have feared, take it. If there is a calling you have resisted, answer it. The space between the open door and the closed one is shrinking, and when it shuts, there will be no time left to prepare. Do not waste these final moments in distractions, arguments, or what-ifs. This is not the hour for hesitation, it is the hour for decisive faith. The closing of a door also marks the sealing of a chapter. What has been will no longer be accessible. The season you have known will not return. For some, that is a cause for grief. For others, it is a cause for rejoicing. But either way, it is final. You cannot live in yesterday when the door to yesterday has been shut. The manna of the wilderness does not fall in the promised land. The cloud that led you through one season may not move the same way in the next. This is why so many struggle after a divine shift. They are trying to live on the other side of a closed door. The only way forward is through the door God has opened now and in, to the place where he will close it behind you for your protection. Understand this as well. When the door closes, so too does the window of resistance. The enemies that have chased you will be cut off. The voices that have tormented you will be silenced. The cycles that have bound you will end. The closing is not only about leaving something, it is about ending something. When the Red Sea closed, Pharaoh's army was gone forever. When the ark's door shut, the flood erased what had defied God. When the wedding feast began, those inside were safe from the chaos outside. This is the mercy of the closing, but you must choose which side you will be on when it happens. Even now, the Spirit is whispering to some of you, this is your final call for this door. Do not miss it. And if you hear that whisper, do not harden your heart. Do not reason it away. Do not assume you will have another chance. Today is the day of decision. The door is still open, but not for long. And when it shuts, it will be sealed by the hand of the one who opens and no one can shut, who shuts and no one can open. That seal will not be broken until the next appointed time, and that next appointed time may be far beyond what you can afford to wait. So move while the way is clear. Step in while the threshold is before you. The hinges are turning, the gap is narrowing, the space is fading, the door is closing, and your place is inside. It is already finished before you took your first breath, before your first prayer was spoken, before your first battle began. The outcome was already decided in the courts of heaven. The victory was not a possibility, it was a certainty. The author of your story is not writing as events unfold. He wrote the ending before the beginning, and then he placed you inside the timeline to walk it out. This is the mystery and the glory of his sovereignty. What you are waiting for has, in his realm, already been completed. The cross is the ultimate proof. When the Son of God stretched out his arms and declared, "It is finished," he was not speaking of a partial victory or a future hope. He was sealing an eternal reality. Sin was defeated, death was disarmed, the curse was broken. Every victory you will ever walk in was birthed in that moment. What you are contending for today, the healing, the deliverance, the breakthrough, the promise is not something you are trying to convince God to do. It is something you are aligning yourself to receive because he has already done it. In the unseen, the answer exists. In the spirit, the wall has already fallen, the chains have already snapped, the door has already opened. You are not moving toward a maybe, you are catching up to a finished. This is why the enemy works so hard to keep your eyes on what you see instead of what God has said. He knows that if you truly believed it was already done, you would stop pleading in fear and start declaring in faith. You would stop fighting from a place of desperation and start standing from a place of authority. You would speak like one who knows the verdict has already been read in your favor. The enemy wants you to feel as though you are at the mercy of the battle, but the truth is, the battle is at the mercy of the decree, and the decree is already written. Think of Jericho before Israel marched even once. God told Joshua, I have given you the city, not I will give you. But I have given you, past tense, finished reality. Their marching was not to earn the victory, but to manifest it. The walls didn't fall because the people finally tried hard enough. They fell because the people moved in obedience to a word that was already true. The same is true for you. You are not working to make it happen. You are walking to see it happen. This is why faith is the evidence of things not seen, because it takes what is already real in the spirit and treats it as fact in the present. Abraham lived this when God told him he was the father of many nations while he had no son. It was not a promise in process, it was a reality waiting for manifestation. And when he believed, he aligned himself with what was already finished in heaven's record. The same principle is seen in David's battle with Goliath. David did not step onto that field hoping God might give him the victory. He stepped onto that field knowing the giant was already defeated in the eyes of heaven. His words were not tentative. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands. That is the language of someone who knows the outcome is sealed. You must learn to speak the same way over your battle, not if God comes through, but when I see what he has already done. This is not denial of the present reality. It is alignment with the eternal reality. The enemy may roar, the storm may rage, the facts may look immovable, but the truth is not determined by what you see in this moment. The truth is determined by the one who has already declared the end, and his word over you is finished. This is why you can have peace before the breakthrough comes. You can worship before the answer appears. You can rest in the middle of the war, not because the fight is easy, but because the fight is already won. When Jesus slept in the boat during the storm, it wasn't because he didn't care about the danger. It was because he knew the storm could not end the mission. The finish was already written. You must carry that same confidence. It changes how you pray. Your prayers become less about begging God to act and more about thanking him for what he has already done. It changes how you walk. Your steps carry the authority of one who is enforcing a verdict, not trying to sway a judge. And it changes how you face opposition. You no longer see yourself as the one being chased, but as the one carrying a decree that hell cannot overturn. Even now, in this moment, there are victories already stored up with your name on them. There are answers already released from heaven that simply have not yet broken into your visible reality. They are not being decided, they are being delivered. Every act of obedience, every declaration of faith, every moment of standing firm moves you closer to the moment when the unseen becomes seen. But whether you see it tomorrow or next year, the status in heaven remains the same, finished. You must settle this in your spirit now, because if you wait to feel victorious until you see it, you will live in constant instability. Your emotions will rise and fall with every visible sign. But if you anchor yourself in the truth that it is already finished, you will be unshakable. You will walk through storms with a steady heart, face giants with a steady gaze, and step into the unknown with steady feet. You will be able to worship in the waiting, rejoice in the refining, and declare victory even in the valley. And that declaration will not be empty words. It will be the echo of heaven's verdict over your life. Remember this, the cross was not the beginning of God's plan for your victory. It was the unveiling of it. Scripture says the Lamb was slain from the foundation of the world. The victory was written into the blueprint before creation. Your salvation, your deliverance, your break. Through all of it is anchored in something older than time itself. And if it is older than time, it cannot be undone by time. So take courage. Do not let your heart be troubled by delays, detours, or denials. The delays are only the gap between the decree and the display. The detours are only the route the author has written to bring you to the finish in the way that will bring him the greatest glory. and the denials from man mean nothing when heaven has said yes. Lift your head, square your shoulders, and step forward as one who carries the authority of a finished work. You are not a victim of uncertainty. You are the steward of a victory already sealed. Let the enemy rage, the ink on the decree has already dried. Let the storm howl, the ending has already been spoken. And when you feel weary, remember this truth. You are not walking toward your victory. Your victory is walking toward you. It is already finished.